Hey there everyone, and welcome back to Superboy Legacy on YouTube. We are doing another commentary for you today. Last week we did the episode West of Alpha Centauri, and this week we are going back to Season 2 with Season 2 Episode 17 entitled Brimstone. I'm your host Tom Gallagher, Editor-in-Chief, and with me our resident Superboy fact-checker, or Superboy historian as I'm going to start calling you from now on, I think, Chris Jacobsen. How are you, Chris?
I am doing good, Tom. Still sick from last time, but getting better.
Good. Anyway, obviously, people are probably going to say, "Well, I'd be surprised if you are better by this episode because our clothes haven't changed, so it's clear we're recording this on the same day." But anyway, the episode Brimstone. Now, this is one I've not seen for quite some time, but a few weeks ago, if you watched our podcast episode where Chris showed his custom action figures, you have a Brimstone action figure, and it kind of prompted me to be like, maybe we should watch that one again. It's been a while. So yeah, this should be fun. I don't remember whether this is one of the great episodes or if it's one of the bad ones. It's just one of those episodes that I'll see if I like it or not, because I don't have any particular memories or love for this episode. But I also didn't for Troubled Waters or Phantom of the Third Division or any of those ones that even Black Flamingo we found things to like about. So yeah, I imagine I'm going to enjoy this episode quite a bit. Just to let you know, if this is your first time joining us for one of these commentaries, it's not like your average, like just regular reaction video on YouTube. This is more like when those channels will put the full uncut commentary on their Patreon. We don't have a Patreon. We just give you the full uncut commentary right from the get-go. What it will mean, though, is that you don't see any clips from the episode, so you will have to get your own copy of the episode and sync up with us. But that'll be easy. I'll count you in with a 3, 2, 1 play, and yeah, you hit play when we do, and we'll watch alongside. So get ready, and 3, 2, 1, play. I don't know really whether I actually like the Season 2 intro as much as the Season 1. I think the only reason I like this intro slightly more is just because of Andy's scream. When I hear the title theme music, I always hear him as he gets thrown across the room going, "Ah!"
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason I like the Season 2 intro above the Season 1 intro. But such a tiny thing. Now, Philip Michael Thomas, I'm guessing, is the guy playing Brimstone himself.
Yes, and he was very famous for being on Miami Vice.
Right. Movies. I was just going to say, is there anything I should know him from? But I was never really a Miami Vice guy, to be honest.
Neither was I.
One thing I do like about this intro, though, it's nice to see that Andy. It's nice to actually see Andy being the entrepreneur. Like he's there selling stuff. He's actually making sales. There was a lot of talk with Andy, and it's just nice to see.
Nice to see him being the entrepreneur that he is.
Yeah.
Or that he always claimed to be.
So yeah, this is the zombie episode. I should have remembered that. I like that Andy's selling fake kryptonite.
And he's selling it for $5.98.
That's actually not a bad deal. I would buy a fake kryptonite rock for that. I'd want it to light up though. It would have to be something that's got a little light bulb or something in the middle.
Gotta say, all things considered, the makeup for this guy. Oh, and it's written by Helfer and Carlin. The makeup on this guy for his monster look, not too bad.
It's not quite movie quality, but we know the show had a low budget. But it's something kind of gross about it. Like, yeah, I like that it's sort of. It reminds me a little bit of that Peter Jackson movie, Brain Dead. I don't know if you've seen that. But it almost looks like his skin is going to start liquefying and dropping off his face.
Yeah.
There's definitely a grossness to it, which I always appreciate in horror makeup.
Now, of course, if it had been done now, this episode,
you would have had the people from The Walking Dead come down to do it, and yeah, or they would just use a lot of CGI with it.
And here comes Brimstone.
It's funny with Brimstone, it's more his look that I remember more than anything. He's definitely got a really interesting style to him. Oh, it's that actor again playing the cop. He's in 8 episodes of Superboy. Always as different characters.
Yeah. The only what I would have done here though, when he looks at the cop, I would have put a special effect glow in his eye.
Yeah. Even something, just the pupils of his eyes, like in Star Trek Picard at the moment, where you had Jack's eyes turn red when he uses that power. Just something, just for a second, just have it flash red for a minute. Or you can make his eyes glow white for a second, like Stargate. So just something to enhance his performance, which is good enough as it is, but sometimes it's nice to include a bit of extra something. I do like Andy in this episode, I must admit.
Yeah, he even though he's only there for the first 5-10 minutes.
It's a good 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. I can kind of see why Island doesn't like really talking about the show. Because he really didn't have much to do in the whole series.
No, I think and I think he realizes that the Salkinds basically only put him on the show so they could use his name to get viewers. Yeah. And they didn't even utilize him particularly well to warrant that. But he's got a few good episodes, and he's a fun member of the cast. But at the end of the day, he works with John Hughes. If you're going to talk about anything when now you've retired and stuff, you're probably going to talk about weird science and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get him on the podcast at some point. That would be nice. I know we had the interview thing at Superman Celebration a while back, but I think it'd be nice to actually get him in to watch a commentary or something. We can watch The Haunting of Andy McAllister or something.
I don't know. I think a program for death would be a better choice for him.
True. They're only 21 minutes each. Maybe we can watch both.
Yeah.
Like we did with Michael Manno, where we watched The Fixer and Luther Unleashed. It's still a shame that, Scott Wells is no longer with us, because he's the one you really would have wanted for that episode.
Yeah.
I do like this character. I
It's a
think it's
shame
just
he
the
only made.
actor.
It's a shame he only made the one appearance in the show.
Yeah. Although you said he's in the comics, didn't you?
Yeah, he has. There's one comic where they bring him back. It was
I mean, that's
issue
something.
14. So we're still a long way from getting to him.
We'll get there eventually. No plans on stopping anytime soon.
Yep. and I love how the makeup has gotten worse on him.
Yeah, it's progressed. See, that makeup does look good, and it reminds me now a little bit of like RoboCop, even some of the grotesque makeup jobs in that. Like when the guy, he gets the toxic waste dumped on him, and his face starts melting. It reminds me of this. Even right down to the, even where they're shooting.
Seeing that in the theater, and I was with my half brother and my sister Eileen, and that scene freaked Richard out.
I mean, it is a very good makeup job, I must say, for television. Maybe it wouldn't hold up as well if we was watching in HD, but it looks pretty damn good for standard def. Have to watch to the credits on this and see who did the makeup, because I assume they'll be credited.
Okay, there's obviously a sequence missing here. Because Superboy was holding him a few seconds ago, and now the two of them are separated.
Hmm. But it's interesting that they make the zombies magic based, because it allows them to actually hurt Superboy without those big scratches on his face. Yeah, that actor playing the cop is the one that was also in that Only Fools and Horses, the British sitcom episode when they went to Miami. So he's obviously just a Florida native or something.
Right.
Because he just, around this era, he just shows up in absolutely anything and everything that's shot in Florida. I'm a big fan. I think he's great. I've enjoyed him in everything I've seen him in.
And this guy, he overacting, but he's selling it.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It works. He's, yeah. It's one of those things. Overacting is kind of seen as a bad thing, but in certain roles and certain projects, it's absolutely necessary, and it does elevate some of the material. It's like just delightfully camp. It's the reason why Vadik in the new season of Star Trek Picard is so enjoyable to watch, because she's just hamming it up for the camera, and it's glorious.
You gotta love Amanda Plummer. She's such a great actress.
Oh yeah. Gerard's selling this scene very well, I think, as well. Might have been a bit better if they had a few extra camera angles or something. But overall, I think he's selling this scene quite well. I even like that flying just then, how out of control it looks. It works for me, It could be seen as somewhat silly, but I like it. Yeah, it's clearly been a very long time since I've seen this episode because I don't remember half of this. It's like I thought, I must be confusing it with another episode because I could have sworn that Brimstone was the villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be about 15 years since I've seen this one.
And this is where we get the what I've always said, that he's like a magic-based Doctor Who.
Oh, it's bigger on the inside, is it?
Yeah.
It's always a fun idea, isn't it, to have a vehicle or a house or a room or whatever that's bigger on the inside. It's just one of those fun sci-fi concepts that's just always fun to watch. Even if it's done subtly like this. I'll tell you what, his outfit he's wearing now does not match what he was wearing earlier. He's gone from very cool to sort of flowery, multicolored shirts and stuff.
Very nerdy here.
Yeah. But I'm okay with it. It's just, yeah.
I think this is probably like a reference to, Miami Vice in this moment.
Yeah, probably. He's very good in this role, though. It's not like he's given too much to work with, but he's given enough, and he's playing it well. As he should, he's a professional actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brimstone needs to come back for season 5. Just saying it now. We'll find a way to include him. Yeah, like the way he's dressed now does not match the shirt he was just wearing at all, does it?
No.
They're like two completely different characters. I was going to say this, the motorbike shot doesn't hold up particularly well, but I've seen worse. At least they've got the angle, like the camera angle.
And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can kind of see where the motorcycle is mounted to the floor in front of the green screen.
Also, they're not casting any shadows on the road.
Yeah.
See, Brimstone's interesting because he's, it's obvious that some of his skill set is based in magic and counter curses or whatever.
Right.
Obviously, the other guy was magic. Now, Brimstone, is he based on anything that was in the comics before the show, or was he invented for it?
I believe he was invented for it, although he does have kind of...
I was just thinking he had a slight Constantine sort of idea. It's just that he's not British.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He has a little bit of John Constantine in him.
Oh, and now he's wearing You know, Superboy's wearing John Newton's costume now for some reason. And now he's back in his own.
It was probably a stuntman at behind the door.
Yeah. Which is probably why they put the bandages on his face so they could get away with the stuntman in more shots. Now, the actor playing this wizard guy, I recognise him from something, but I can't place it.
Yeah,
He looks a little bit like Jamie Kennedy, the comedian, but he looks like Jamie Kennedy does now rather than 1993. Yeah, we're going to have to pull up his IMDb and see who he is. Man, I wish they had a higher budget just for these magic sequences. If the wizard guy is Carlos Sestero, he was in Star Trek The Undiscovered Country as Munitions Man. I doubt I'd recognise him from that. He was also in Miami Vice for an episode. Maybe that's why they're both in this, because they were friends or something. But yeah, I wish this episode had a higher budget, just because the visual effects are really what lets this episode down.
Well, some of them do.
Yeah, some of it looks all right, but that big, jewel at the end there, I wish they had a little bit more money to work with.
Yeah.
Just so the effects wouldn't look quite so cartoony.
And I love this line from Brimstone. He was just too stupid to stay dead.
Yeah, it's lines like that make me wish that Brimstone had come back, because yeah, I should have watched this one in the years since, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of the better episodes. And I can completely see why they wanted to include him in the comic book tie-ins, because yeah, Brimstone seems like the perfect sort of character for those tie-in comics, because they can do the big magic things and not have to worry about the budget.
Yeah.
So that was Brimstone. Yeah, very John Constantine-esque sort of concept for a character, although his personality is completely different. And obviously the fact that he's American is very different. It's just, yeah, got a similar sort of...
Yeah, Carlos Sestero as Proto.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. Like I said, it's been a long time since I'd seen it. I didn't have any particularly strong memories from it. For some reason, I've remembered Brimstone being the bad guy. I think I got it confused with Rebirth for some reason.
Yeah.
God knows why. It happens, There's 100 episodes of this, and a lot of them I haven't seen for quite some time. My favourite episodes I rewatch all the time, but this was obviously never one of them. But no, thoroughly enjoyable episode, and
yeah, I mean, it has a few things that are lacking, and the special effects could be a little bit better in certain sequences.
Yeah.
The makeup effects, at the beginning could have been a little bit better with the monster.
But as it progressed and he got more gruesome and grotesque, like I thought the makeup looked even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it worked. You know, it's for the budget they had. It's surprisingly decent zombie makeup, and I'd even not call it zombie makeup. It was more like some sort of radioactive mutant looking makeup with boils and stuff on the face, and it looked like there was pus oozing and stuff. Like, yeah, it really reminds me of some of those 80s horror films.
Yeah. And the one good thing about this episode is we don't have too much of Urkel Clark.
Yeah, I mean, Clark is there, but he's not. You know, he's not going on about his bug collection or anything like that. He's just. You can tell that Gerard's still playing it a little bit like the nerdy Clark, just in the way that he walks and his mannerisms and stuff. Like, you could
And
tell.
the fact that his pants are hiked up and you can see his socks.
Yeah, but I mean, he was wearing a sweater in this episode, and I thought actually that's quite an unnerdy sweater for Urkel Clark. Like, he's worn some pretty nerdy looking outfits. I thought he looked fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, nerdy Clark doesn't really bother me in this episode. Obviously, it doesn't you either. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I'm not going to wait another 10, 15 years before watching it again. I can completely see why you wanted to make an action figure of him, because he is a fun character, and I do wish he'd come back at some point. But what can you do?
Absolutely. You know, it's a good episode. It's not, it's not like a 10. Let's say it's more like a 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5 is completely fair, I would say, and that's still a damn good score, really. I mean, that's
yeah. And what keeps it high is Philip Michael Thomas's performance.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very subtle. He's got a little bit of I mean, that scene with the cop when he just takes his glasses off and looks at him, yeah, they could have added something into his eyes to make it a little bit more.
Just for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a flash of something. Yeah.
But,
little things like that definitely would have improved it. I mean, this is another episode that I think could have benefited from being a two-parter, but that's something I say about most episodes of Superboy, to be honest. It's just because of the fact that it just feels like they needed a little more time with a lot of their stories.
Yeah. Certain episodes, for example, A Kind of Princess, it's good at a half an hour. Could it have been better as an hour or a two-parter? Definitely.
Yeah. Even Road's Not Taken, it's still a two-parter already at this point. But if that was a two-parter where each part was a 42-minute episode, just think how much more time we could have spent on like the Dark Earth where he killed Lex Luthor, or on the Sovereign Earth.
Yeah.
And Road to Hell probably, if it was a 42-minute episode, wouldn't necessarily have needed to be a two-parter, but I still would have liked for it to have been. But yeah, like you say, Brimstone, it's not a 10 out of 10 like a Road's Not Taken or, Mind Games or No Line Enemy or anything like that. It's not quite on that level, but it's still a pretty damn good episode and thoroughly enjoyable. And the character of Brimstone is just so funny. And like you said, he was a very subtle performance. Well, at least for the beginning. And it's almost like he doesn't have much personality at first, except that he appears to be a good guy. And that's about it. But then at the end, when he has that line about the guy that died 200 years ago and he was too stupid to know to stay dead, that's great. And it's like, that's the moment of his personality I was kind of waiting for throughout the entire episode. And I like that they'd saved a joke for the end so that the whole episode felt like it actually had some stakes.
Yeah, in that moment, he really does feel like Constantine when he just says that, because that's something you could see John saying.
Oh, absolutely. He'd say that, and then he'd like throw like his cigarette butt on the corpse or something like that.
Yeah.
But thoroughly enjoyable episode.
And Carlos Sestero, he really sold it. He was overacting. Okay.
Yeah. But he was overacting in an enjoyable way, like Amanda Plummer in Picard. It's like just a joy to watch. I love over the top campy acting like that. It doesn't work for every episode, obviously, but I think it worked for this one. And it felt like they knew the tone that they were going for, and they knew how to accomplish it through the performances. And I think that works for both the actor that played Brimstone and also the wizard guy whose name I forget, despite you having kept saying it multiple times.
The actor is Carlos Sestero. The character he played was Proto.
I'm never going to remember that.
And if I could, I'd make an action figure of him.
I can see why you haven't made one of him, because it would be very difficult to recreate his costume, because it's very... You'd have to find some very specific action figures to take apart to make that.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. We do hope you've enjoyed watching this episode alongside us. I certainly enjoyed watching this episode again. Be sure to leave us a like, share, subscribe, leave us comments and stuff. If you have an episode you would like us to do a commentary for, let us know. We always do the requests because we love getting them. Makes us feel like we're connected with the viewers a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So thank you all so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.